So welcome to today's section, and today we'll be learning how to interpret a statute law. So the law will be a statement of law will be passed by the parliamentary. Okay. Now the judges have to interpret or understand the meaning of that law and then apply it in the case and make a decision. So let's see how it's going to be. There are methods, okay? There are three methods of doing it. One is there are a set of rules on how to interpret or how to understand the words in a statement of law. Then it's the assumptions in statutory interpretation, and we have other assistants. First we will be going to learn about the rules. So there are 5 rules, and first one is literal rule and golden rule. Golden rule is a modification of literal rule, okay? Then mischief rule, and we have purposive rule, Eiusdem generis, Experssio unius exclusio, alterious. Don't worry about the name. It's just we need to understand the concept. So before we go into the case laws, now we have a set of case laws. Before going to the case laws, let me tell you something. Case laws are important. You have to understand each case law and how that rule is being applied in that case law. Everything we have to learn. It's not, we don't need to like by heart or like just understand the concept and understand how it's being applied. Okay. So let's go to the first rule, the literal rule. In the literal rule, it is the judges will look the exact meaning of it in the dictionary and apply it in the case. And our first case is Fisher versus Bell. Okay, now when I explain the case law, you will understand more about the literal rule. Okay, so there was a law that it is offer of sale of an offensive weapon is a crime. Okay, and there was a shopkeeper. What he did was that a knife which could kill people was hanged on the window of the shop with a price tag. Okay, so this case came to the court and said that it is an offense to do that, right? So what did the judge do is that he applied the literal rule. The literal rule is offer of sale. Offer of sale means the shopkeeper should offer the customer to buy the offensive weapon. But here the shopkeeper didn't do that. The shopkeeper just kept on the window. That means if anyone passing by can enter the shop for the treat. And here it is the customer who is offering to the shopkeeper. That means I am taking this knife. I want to buy this knife. So the offer is coming from the customer and not from the shopkeeper. So therefore, when we look the literal rule, it is not an offense to keep a knife on the shop window. But actually, what did the parliament think? The parliament think was to prevent from the sale of offensive weapons. But when we look at the literal meaning, it's not offense to keep the weapons on the shop window. Now we will go to the golden. So golden rule is a modification of literal rule. When we take the literal meaning in the dictionary, the outcome may be foolish or absurd. Okay, for example, the above case. So what the judges do is they apply the golden rule. That means there is a wider meaning for that word. So what is like more purpose to the word. Now we'll look to the case, the Adler versus George. In this case, actually, it is an offense according to the Air Force Act that for anyone to block a Air Force member in the vicinity of a prohibited area. In the vicinity of prohibited area was written in the Act. So once an incident occurred, there was a man and he blocked a member of the Air Force inside the Air Force. Okay, inside, not the vicinity, inside. So he was arrested and he was taken to the court. So he was like, in the act it is written in the vicinity. It was an offense if he was doing it in the vicinity of the prohibited area. I was actually inside the prohibited area. So what did the judge do? The judge applied the golden rule, and according to the golden rule, the vicinity will include inside the prohibited area also. Okay, but if we take the literal rule, it will have a foolish outcome. That means the defendant would have escaped. But here, when we take the golden rule, it has more meaningful, and the outcome is more positive way. So that's about the golden rule, and we will go next to the mischief or harm rule. So in mischief or harm rule, it is that it is not the meaning of the law. Okay, here the judges take what is the law meaning to prevent, what crime is the law meant to prevent, and that will be taken. Okay, so we have the case of Goris versus Court. According to Contagious Disease Act, that the animals should be, when it is being transported from one place to another in a ship, the animals should be put in a cage, so the disease from them won't pass on to other people or animals. Okay, so once a person took some sheep from one place to another in a ship but without cage, and what happened was that in like there were big waves, and these sheep were washed away in the wave. So the claimant is the one who goes and gives the case. Okay, the person, and he was the owner of the ship. Obviously he will be sad that his sheep has gone in water. So what he went to the court and applied for a case, saying that according to this rule, Disease Contagious Act rule, the sheep must be caged, and the shipman, the person in the ship, did not cage them. Okay, that's why my ships went off. Okay, so what did the court do is that they applied the mischief rule. In mischief rule, what was this law meant for? It was to prevent the contagious disease. It was not bothered about if the sheep or the animals would go to water or not. It is meant to prevent the contagious disease, and therefore there was no passing of contagious disease in this case, and the defendant is not guilty. That means there is no offense, and the sheep and the man was free. Okay, let's do a question. Which of the following is an example of the purposive approach to statutory interpretation? Purposive. Literal rule? No. The mischief rule? Yes. The golden rule? No. Okay, so purposive, that is what is meant. What did the parliamentary meant to prevent in this law? That will be taken, and it is B, the mischief rule. In literal rule, what is it? So let's go through it. In the literal rule, it says that the literal meaning in the dictionary. Okay, in the golden rule, it is a more modified rule, in that it will take a wider meaning of that word. But B, it is the purpose. Purpose is concerned here. Okay, so purposive rule. Purposive rule is same like the mischief rule. The purpose of the statute law is taken. Okay, now I will take the illustration of a case law, Gardiner versus Savinox RDC. Here there was an act for the safe storage of film on premises. So a claimant came and said that it was a storage in a cave, so this act does not apply in this case. So what the court said is that this act is for the safety of the people around the storage of a film. So if cave is the place where it is stored, then cave is the premise. Okay, now let's go to the next one, that is Eiusdem generis, or the same kind rule. That means if a statement of law, in that there are mentioned words, okay, and whatever the following is coming is related to these words. I will tell you by an example of case law, Powell versus Kempton Park Racecourse Company. Okay, so there was a betting act. Betting act says that it was an offense to do betting in a house, office or room and other places. So there was betting happening in a race horse where they kept a ring and there was betting happening there. Okay, so it came to the court and said, is betting in a ring near a race horse is an offense or not? So the court applied the Eiusdem generis rule and said, the act says house, office, room and other places. Now you can see from these words that this is an indoor place, but a ring near a race horse is an outdoor place. Therefore, it's not an offense to do betting in a ring. Okay, so that's about the Eiusdem generis rule. Then we have Experssio, unius, exclusio, alterious, or one thing is the exclusion of another. That means a specific words of a class is mentioned, then the rest of the class is excluded. I will tell you by an example. Okay, just imagine this shop. Okay, this shop is open on weekends and public holidays. That means what? The weekdays it's excluded. That means the weekdays the shop is closed. This is the same thing applied over here also. So we have the assumptions in statutory interpretation. That means the judges would keep lot of assumption. Okay, these are the assumptions. So let's go to the first assumption. Does not make changes to the common law. Just take a statutory, okay, and it's there are two meaning for that statutory law. So the one meaning is that it will conflict the common law, and the other one won't conflict the common law. So the judges will take the second meaning of that statutory law so that it does not conflict the common law. Then we have it does not exclude the jurisdiction of the court. That means it does not exclude the legal things about the court decisions. The legislation does not extend beyond the territorial jurisdiction of UK. The legislation and the statute law is applied inside UK. It doesn't go outside. It does not deal with or conflict with the international laws. Then it has no retrospective effect. That means if the statute law is come to effect today, okay, today, that means something such a case similar to this statute law was happened 2 months back. So this statute law will not go back and change that case decision. Okay, no, it won't go retrospective. Now from now on, which all cases are related to this will be affected by the statute law from today onwards. So no retrospective effect. Then statute law will not bind the crown, the monarch. The statute laws are not bound to the monarch. Then we have other instances. One is the Hansard. Hansard means like when this act of bill was being processed in parliament, the recordings at that parliament, the votes, the statements of the ministers, all will be considered. Okay, then only we can come to a conclusion on the statute law. The other one is Human Rights Act, Oxford English Dictionary. Oxford English Dictionary, you know the literal meaning. Then Human Rights Act, that is in the next session I will let you know.